Hey trackies, welcome back to another video. Please remember to smash that subscribe button. Hit the like button as well. That's how the video gets to the YouTube algorithm. Share the video if you care. I hope y'all care. So share and yes, please. The comments sound off below. All right. So the highly anticipated sprints. Men's 100 meters, women's 100 meters. Gule Isvan Memorial. We were here for it. We were ready for the excitement. And then it was like, whoop. It really wasn't what we expected, tracking it. It wasn't what we were expecting at all. But guess what? I'm gonna dive into the results and then of course I'm gonna tell you my thoughts because after you watching, a trend, I realized that you know what? Probably not what I was expecting is going to be coming at this particular meeting. So let's dive into the women's 100 meters first. Of course, y'all know I said my particular range that I was looking out for. Hopefully, seeing the women be low 10.8s, potentially high 10.7s. You know what I mean? My thought process is if we can see the athletes, giving this type of performance, right, a month out from the World Championships, yeah, Jamaica is definitely in the conversation. However, the actual results for the women's 100 meters, guess who took the win? Not a Jamaican. Yep, I have to shout out to Albert, the analyst, because I did see him on Twitter saying, you know what, I wouldn't be surprised if Mary Jose Lou Smith takes the win in the women's 100 meters. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. She took the win. She ran a 10.97 seconds. In second place was Tina Clayton. She ran a 10.99 seconds. Sherika Jackson, 11 seconds. Shelly Fraser Price, 11.07. Jacia Shears, fifth. I think that's where I stopped, in terms of my thought process. She was also, the same time with Shelley and Fraser Price, just separated by the thousands of a second, 11.07 seconds as well. So that was my top five. Clearly not in that order because I had Tina, Sharika, Shelley, then Talu, then Jay Shears. How it happened is Talu, Tina, Sharika, and then Shelley, then Jay Shears. So, I mean, other than flipping Talo up at the top, it was pretty okay, I guess, in terms of my thought process where the placings would be at least, right? No, what I did find interesting, as I said, was the actual performances. Now, of course, I was looking at what Brian Lavelle was doing. Of course, Ashanti Moore, they were really killing it. Two personal best meeting record, of course, from a Brian Lavelle. No, of course, different clubs, right? So I actually started to go back, in my mind because I checked out, what was going on in the men's 400 meters as well, because we have our national record holder in the men's 400 meters competing, Rashid McDonald. So he's after the qualification time in that men's 400 meters. So I really wanted to see, how he would be competing here. And I was hoping that, hey, this would be the meeting for him to go for it and get it. But from the gun, it seems as though he wasn't really in it. No, if y'all know Rasheen, he gets, or he goes out to a really good start. From that first initial 200, well, we didn't even get to the 200. From the first, step out of the blocks, pretty much you could see that he wasn't attacking the race in his typical, fashion. So I was like, this is quite interesting, right? And he ended up fifth in the race running a 45.12 seconds. So not necessarily a slow time, right? But he still wasn't attacking it the way he typically attacks it. He came back on the field, towards the end, and tried to make up some ground. But I believe that first 200, because, it was, so slow, he was not able to get under, 45 seconds. But again, I was keeping these things in the back of my mind because now that I'm looking at, what's happening in the women's 100 meters, my thought process is, MVP isn't quite ready to unleash these athletes just yet, right? That's literally what, started to come into my mind after watching not only what happened in the men's 400 meters, but again in the women's, 100 meters, seeing how the athletes, ran the times that they were able to lay down. So I was like, okay, maybe it's a little bit too soon, right? When it comes to the performances. So again, not what I was hoping for. I was hoping for 10.8. Y'all know that, as I said, high 10.7 didn't happen. Do I think Jamaica is out of it? Absolutely no, because I do know that Stephen Francis is a master when it comes to, Stephen Francis, Paul Francis, master, at peaking athletes and peaking, our sprinters to turn up at championships and run their best, right? So even though I didn't get the performance, that I was expecting, I'm going to stick to that and say that, yeah, we will still be able to see our Jamaicans feature. What I did appreciate though in the race was, from a technical perspective, I liked what I saw from Sherika Jackson, right? I liked liked what I saw from Tina Clayton as well. Y'all know I did have Tina, Sharika, then Shelly. It's actually finished in that order, minus, as I said, Talu. For Shelly, didn't really like her last, I would say maybe 20. Didn't like her last 20 in the race, right? She was definitely reaching. I never really like when athletes are reaching. But outside of that, I appreciated the technical execution that I did witness from the athletes. So I'm like, okay, when Silver Francis is ready to let y'all go unleash y'all, then I'll just wait for that, right? But I'm hoping that we will see, that well, then again, I'm not sure if they'll be heading to the Diamond League finals because, as I said, my thought process is a number of athletes should skip that because they will be focused on peaking, making sure that they're in the perfect, shape for championship. So I don't expect a lot of them to turn up at the Diamond League final. So we may not be able to see them, unfortunately, getting into that perfect shape before the World Championships. But that's like keep to the facts. I mean, no, Jamaica and them stay. I mean, no, say them are ready. So I'm in a business what I want to say in the comment section below. And then what made me really, confirm in my mind this thought process was the men's 100 meters. Kishane Thompson came up right after that. And y'all know I said, here what? I'm looking out to see what happens in this race. I don't really expect anything fast, but, roughly a 9-8 midish, I think will be, good enough. In this particular race, Kishane didn't even get, the best start. No, I did realize that there was, kind of like a twitch, from him in the blocks. But even with that twitch, I still think, he got a good start, just not the Kishane Thompson start. So I was like, okay. But then what I really liked is that, the final phases of his race. So he's now showing that he can win from behind. And I loved that, right? So the thought process was, oh, Kishane can only win from the front. He will get run down if he doesn't get the greatest start. And I'm wondering if this is what they were working on when he said, and this is Kishane Thompson said that, hey, we're working on something, we're putting something together. When you see it, you'll know, right? Now, at the time when he said it, I didn't really see what he was talking about because his final phases, maybe final 30 in the 100 meters at the Eugene Diamond League, wasn't impressed with that. But as I said, I didn't really, understand what the thought process was then. But watching him now run back on the field, I'm like, they're clearly, fixing his top end, making sure that even if he gets the worst start, which is still a great start for Kishane when you take into consideration the rest of the field, because he's just a great starter, full stop. Awesome start, he's gone if everybody, right out the blocks, but good enough, he's still right there with everybody, you know what I mean? So with that being said, he took the race, he ran a 9.95 seconds. So I'm really interested now to see when he puts things together. This kind of is reminding me also of Oblique Seville early in the season. I don't know if y'all remember early in the season when it came to Oblique Seville, his start was nowhere to be found, right? He was pretty much just running back to the field and trying, to overhaul the athletes at that particular point in time, which for the most part worked for him. He ended up, in top 3 for the most part in the men's 100 meters, right? And then we saw him in London now, start really backfiring, put that race together, and he's absolutely, killing it when it comes to his execution from gun to tape. Now, Kishane looks at as though he's, taking that approach in the final phases, or in these final, few weeks leading up to the World Championships, making sure that, okay, my top end is as good as my start. So I'm loving that. So even though, the time wasn't what I was looking forward to, I can kind of see the race strategy and the race plan. So I'm good with it, right? So I'm hoping that, that's what's really happening, right? What I'm thinking about in my mind. So I'll go forward with that and look forward to see him in the next outing, right? Of course, he comes up at Silesia. So I'll give you guys another preview, I guess, when it comes to that, because now you have to start readjusting things in your mind based on what you're looking at. But anyway, second place was from Ghana, Abdul Rashid Samino. I talked about him in my preview. I said, he's a collegiate that hasn't run, sub 10 this season outside of running 9.8s. Like he's clocked 3.98s, literally, right? So I really wanted to see if it was all, smoke. Well, guess what? It wasn't smoke. He came out here for a solid second place, 10.01 seconds. I'm like, okay, all right. But you know what? When I look at him from a technical perspective, as I said in the preview that I did, I definitely thought he was technically sound. He's really tall as well. So that really helps. So let's see how he's able to progress from here on out. He's from Ghana. Akani Simbine was second as well, 10.01 seconds. It seems as though they were not able to separate them, even down to the thousands. So tied second. Akimble came in for fourth, 10.04. So really, really close. A bang up finished between second to fifth, you would say, in the race. So not Cajun Goals, sorry, Ronnie Breaker was right behind them, 10.05. So 10.01, 10.01, 10.04, 10.05. Cajun Golson was sixth, 10.08, and Rohan Watson was seventh, 10.12. So for me, Cajun Golson and Rohan Watson, they're showing consistency because this is pretty much where they've been running all season. So I like that, the consistency there. Actually, I don't think Adrian Golson was in the lineup when I did my initial reaction. So it's good seeing him here and good seeing him again running another 10.0. Right. So track is, that's my thoughts when it comes to the 100 meters, the sprints. As I said, it didn't really, live up to the hype, from a time perspective. But in hindsight, looking at what I saw and looking at the whole MVP on a whole, I can understand, what I'm seeing. Is if it was one off thing where everybody else was running fast and one athlete ran slow, or the vice versa, where one athlete ran fast and then everybody ran slow, then I'll be thinking, okay, what's going on here? But seeing it was a performance that everybody kind of looked the same, I'm like, okay, this is clearly a club thing, this is clearly a strategy with MVP, and I'm here for it. We all know that Stephen Francis loves a strategy, you know what I mean? So let's see how things pan out for Team Jamaica when it comes to these sprints. Not counting them out, absolutely not. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, though. I know some of y'all are dying to go. See, Jamaica is not in it. I don't care what none of y'all want to say. Like the video, of course, and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.